Hey, Josh, how are you doing today?
I am fantastic, Jim. It's great to be with you. How are you doing?
I am living the dream, and I want to thank Ed for allowing you and I to get together on the Seal podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you. And Ed, thank you for having me. It's a fantastic product that Ed has created, and we've been working with him for about a year now.
Oh, great, great. Vanderberg Clean, you guys are up in Canada. Just joking, Minnesota.
It
Um,
feels like that in the middle of the winter.
yeah, no, I say that because when people talk to me from Minnesota, I'm like, okay, they're either from Minnesota area or Canada. I actually grew up in Canada, so I have an ear for all of this. And it's not quite the Canadian accent, but certainly it's different than Texas.
So us Minnesotans don't feel like we have an accent, but people
No, no,
people
because you
sometimes
don't
say
know.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Same with people in North Carolina. They don't think they got one either.
It's like
So
that Southern draw. I kind of like that. I wish I had a little more of that, but
yeah, almost every state has their own sound. Love you guys up there. I can relate a lot. Like I said, I grew up in Canada and familiar with the winters, ice fishing, snowmobiling, snowshoeing, cross country skiing, downhill skiing, the whole thing. Love it all. Okay, tell me about your business from the beginning to where you are now and how the seal is helping you today over the past year.
So this is a fun question. We started 15 years ago. This year's our 15th anniversary.
Mm,
I was managing a franchise. We had an option to buy, didn't work out, and so I went out on my own. Thankfully, because I have a lot more freedom as the owner of this company without any restrictions. We started as a janitorial company, providing services for things like car dealerships, office buildings. We built a strong reputation. The next year, we got into carpet cleaning, ICRC certified firm from day one. And so we've been providing that service now 14 years, I suppose. And our business is really two factors. We service a big portion of our business is janitorial and commercial customers, providing daily cleaning services from everything from Class A office buildings. I believe we're in 16 operating rooms now,
that's
and
fantastic.
and clinic settings. That's a really fun aspect of our business, and unique and challenging on its own. The medical cleaning has a lot of restrictions around it, and HIPAA compliance and those types of things that make it a little bit more challenging. Our office building clients, and the fun thing is, over the last 15 years, we've really retained our clients well. So we've had a lot of our clients that we originally started with 15 years later. I would say almost all of those clients that started, we had a couple go out of business
Mm.
over time, but almost all of those clients are still with us. So that's a really fun fact. So I work with Eric Spriggs. He's my business coach. Howard Partridge. We all hang out a couple times a year, and Eric flew up here to help us out. And this is one of those things. We're having a conversation, and about the same time, I needed to have somebody come over to the house. I don't remember if it was HVAC or plumbing or whatever. And my wife had a lot of anxiety around, like, who's coming to our house? Why are they coming here? You can't be here. She normally I deal with all the contractors. She doesn't have to. This particular time, I just couldn't make it. And so, it got me to thinking, well, I wonder how our clients feel about who's coming into their businesses. We've always run background checks through a third party, but the thing that really interests us about the seal, and when Eric came out here, we discussed it, and he was like, "Hey, this is a really cool program." So he explained it to us, got me in contact with Ed, and we're like, "This is a no-brainer," because the thing about the seal is most background checks are like a one and done thing. You background check on the way in, and then you don't think about it again. And so if you've had somebody who's been with you for 10 or 15 years, they haven't had a background check for that long. The other thing that's really nice about the seal is we don't have to have our guidelines around it, because the seal actually says, "Hey, this is our perimeter for what we're going to allow." And then they say, "Hey, this is a certified background check."
Yeah.
And the great thing is it's redone every year. So this problem that my wife had, all of a sudden we can solve it, because we can send an email out ahead of time. Say a carpet technician is coming to your house. So the day before, Monica, our receptionist, will shoot out an email. She'll say, hey, this is the technician or the technicians that are coming to your house. Here's their picture. Look for their seal badge. When they get to the door, they've got the seal badge. So, and it's not one that you can just print. It's got, some things in it, some security features so that hey, this is a legitimate badge coming from a legitimate company. You've got the spot. You can just shoot it and you can see who's coming. They go out, they do a fantastic job. And this is something we didn't know until we got on the seal. Ed explained this to us, and honestly, it's a huge benefit. I mean, you'd almost pay another company to do this for you. They shoot out a review after the service and say, hey, how did the technicians do? And so you're getting constant feedback on how your technicians are doing. It's amazing.
Yeah, the whole system is perfect for a company like yours, Josh. And even if you wanted to do it yourself, you can't, because you can't go around patting yourself on the back saying we're great, right? So you need a third party who does it consistently over and over again for home service professionals.
And that's a good point. From an HR standpoint, I love the fact that I can say, if somebody, and we have very rarely do we have somebody fail a background check because our hiring process is pretty good. But I can be like, hey, you didn't pass the background check. The seal will not certify you. It's not our decision. Nope. The seal decided it for us. Hey, that's a wonderful thing on the HR side.
Sure. It's almost like a government agency said, we can't do this.
Right.
So because another authority said it insulates you. There's a buffer, and they can't really go after you personally as much because you're not the one that set the standard.
Absolutely.
But you want that standard. I'll say something about ID badges. They're really important. When you have a technician who goes to a home, especially a home, you want them to be dressed well, look good, and the ID badge shows authority, credibility, unless it's a bogus one. But to your point, what Ed and his team do with these, badges, you can't replicate them. They can only be made by the seal. And they do a lot of things. You can scan them and you can get reviews, and it's really a fantastic product. I don't know why every home service company wouldn't employ the seal, plug it into their system. Can you see why?
I will be honest, in the cleaning industry, some people probably who own some of the cleaning companies, especially some of the smaller ones, some of the ones that aren't so well branded or probably couldn't pass one of the background checks. And so, that's another thing. You can verify that the ownership of the company has a clean background and should be in your home, and that all the technicians are. So, I suppose anybody would really wonder why wouldn't you do this?
If you're legit, you've got to ask the question, why aren't you showing people you are legit? If you don't have the seal, you got to kind of scratch your head and say, I wonder if they're legit.
Absolutely.
Because in so many cities, states, there aren't entities that are looking out after the consumer. For instance, in the state of Texas, anybody can start a business. You don't have to be insured. You don't need workers' comp either. You don't have to be licensed for many things outside of, electric and plumbing and HVAC and irrigation and pest control. Other than that, if you're a roofer, pool builder, cleaner, like Wild Wild West. So having the seal really makes people feel good because there's a third party looking out after the consumer and keeping an eye on you, the service provider.
Yeah, from a service provider standpoint, that exact same thing goes. When you're offering a high quality product, that actually costs more to provide than it does to, be chucking a truck, driving up with, a company that maybe or maybe not has insurance. And if they do, maybe it's not the proper amount or the proper licensing. That guy can do the work for maybe half or a quarter of the price. But you have to ask yourself, who's coming into my home? What kind of work quality are they going to provide? Are they going to stand behind it? Do they have Google reviews? Do they have Do they have certifications? Do they have something like the seal where I know they're coming into my house and it's going to be a technician that has a background check every 365 days? Are they well trained? Do they actually know what they're doing? I was looking at a house the other day, and it's a brand new home, but the cleaner has been using products that are improper for the type of flooring they have, and they a lot of issues with it. And so now it's time to solve the problem for the customer. But that didn't have to happen because they could have used a quality vendor. It might have cost a little bit more upfront, but this is a brand new floor that's damaged to the point where it may have to be replaced. I think we can save it, and we've got a plan to go out and do that. We haven't done it yet. It's on the schedule, but that's one of those things where going and finding a quality vendor to begin with would have saved this homeowner so much heartache on a brand new house.
From my experience, Josh, people want to save money. They don't want to save time. They don't necessarily not want to get it done right, but they're hoping if I spend the least amount, maybe I'll get lucky and not have any problems. It generally doesn't work that way. They'll spend money on a Lexus and a Mercedes knowing what they're getting, which is generally an expensive vehicle with great service. But when it comes to other things like having their house painted or cleaned or getting a new roof, I want the lowest price. And that's not advisable. I'm telling the homeowner right now, if you're watching this, Mr. and Mrs. Smith homeowner, that is not advisable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, quality is definitely one of those things that is critical. You want to find a qualified vendor. You want to use somebody who knows what they're doing.
Josh, how do you get that across when you're talking to a prospective new customer? How do you get across, look, we may be a little more expensive than these other individuals you're talking with. We have the seal, we're insured, we do this, and this, we're on the up and up. How do you convey the value where they say, yeah, I get it, let's move ahead?
Honestly, let's go to the janitorial business because this is a very good example. On a regular basis, we'll go in, we'll bid a project, and they'll say, hey, you're quite a bit more than the other guy. And so they might select the other guy and they might go through that service. And a year later, they're calling us back and they don't care what we charge because that year has been so bad. They have had so many issues with service that it's like, hey, we need quality service. And so that happens quite a bit. But the other thing is when you go in and you're saying, hey, we're certified, we've got other accreditations that, the bigger companies need to make sure that we're compliant. We have this insurance. It is above and beyond the industry standard. We have, certification from IICRC. We're doing ongoing training. We're working with Howard. We're working with Eric. All of these things build on themselves to give a huge quality product. And over time, we've built a reputation in the market that I think stands for high quality, consistent, stable service. And that takes a long time to build that. But once you have it, you absolutely need to maintain it.
So you don't want to be the dollar store or even the Walmart in your industry. You want to be the better one, the one that's going to cost more, offer great value, but safety and care and everything behind it. More like, I guess, the Lexus and the Mercedes.
Absolutely. And, Tommy Mello says this quite a bit, but you have to look at what your actual expenses are to run your company, to run a high quality company, to pay for the seal ongoing background checks, to pay for the quality insurance, to have management, to have leadership, to have quality employees and team members, to have HR processes. This all adds a lot of expense to the price of the product, and the customer has to pay for that. But if the customer wants a quality product, they're going to say, hey, I want to pay for this because I want a quality, consistent product with people I can trust, with people who I can have a relationship with for a long time. And, that's the great thing. You build those relationships and then you have a customer over and over and over again. In our case, for 15 years of business, we've been doing business with the same people. And that is really rewarding.
I agree with you. Tell me if you agree with this. Your smaller, lower paying customers are usually the biggest problem.
That's 100% true.
Isn't that rule wild? It's a law. And,
it is.
And it's almost always true. Why do you think that is, Josh?
I think sometimes people are reaching beyond what they can afford for a service.
Mm.
That happens occasionally, but I think sometimes when you've discounted your service, number one, you're going out there trying to provide something in less time because you don't have the percentages to cover it. And number two, that customer has already devalued you because they've negotiated down your price. You don't value your time enough to hold firm to your price. And so, that customer isn't going to value your service as high as it should be valued. They don't understand what's going into that. It really comes down to an education thing on the front end.
I think you nailed it. That's exactly why. You have to be careful if you're going to give away something for free. Careful what you attract. It can
Hmm.
be done as a way to get some activity, get some traction here and there, but you really have to be careful. And there's this reverse psychology, I believe. If you go out into the marketplace very bold and say, yes, we are more expensive, but our value is higher. Everything that we do is better. We have better equipment, we have better people, better service, better programs. People are willing to pay for that, especially the ones that can afford it. So, kind of to your point,
Right.
you want to find, and I'll use this term loosely, the rich customer, the one that can afford it, the one that doesn't mind paying for it because it makes their lives easier so they can make more money. The
Hmm.
ones that are penny pinchers, they're never going to be able to be satisfied and they're ultimately going to leave you and it fails.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we're looking for a long-term relationship with our customers. And so we need somebody who's going to or want somebody who's going to use us over and over and over again. That's why you charge this much. If you want to go in and you want to do a one and done service, you really don't care. You're going in to make a few bucks for the day. But if you're building a company that is going to be established and stable in the market, then you're going to have to charge to provide all those things.
Who is your ideal customer or client?
Yeah, somebody with about a 3,000 square foot home,
Mhm.
on the residential side, or more, 3,000 plus square foot, stable in a stable neighborhood. Uh, those people are very wonderful customers. Generally, that household makes over $100,000 a year, to be honest.
Mhm.
In this market, maybe $120,000 a year. Plus, a lot of in our area, a lot of those folks live on the lakes, but they can also live in town. We service a lot of doctors, a lot of lawyers, a lot of business owners, and a lot of just general people from the community who trust us and have used us for years. On the commercial side, we're looking for somebody who has a building and a need for a relatively clean space.
Yeah.
You're looking for medical. High-end office buildings, high-end manufacturing. We do a lot of high technical manufacturing. So they're doing microcircuits or they're doing something very specific, very unique, and providing a really high quality product. And so if our customer's providing a high quality product, then we're probably a good fit. If it's somebody who's trying to provide something at a really low discounted price, we're probably not going to be a fit.
What percentage of your business is residential, homeowner versus commercial?
Yeah, so we have a fairly sizable janitorial company, so probably 85% of our business is commercial. So
Okay.
janitorial, that would be carpet cleaning, all of the services we provide commercial, and then 15% is rescom or residential services.
I find that a very interesting percentage. Two totally different businesses. They really are. I mean,
Yeah.
if you were to split your company up, you could easily split it up to two different companies. They're different products, if you will.
Hmm.
Which one do you like the best? The commercial or the residential? Because, like I said, these are two different animals.
They both have their aspects. The commercial is very stable, and we have very, very strong relationships. So honestly, I love that part of the business. But I also love hearing from my neighbors and my friends, and in a community like ours, we're doing business with our neighbors and our friends every day. I love to hear, hey, the guys came out, they cleaned my carpet. I can't believe how wonderful it looks. Or hey, we just redid the house and the guys came out and did the final clean and it looks amazing now. Thank you. But we love all of it, and my technicians that do the residential services, they've been with me for such a long time. They go out and they do a great job, and I don't have to participate in that a whole lot because they're fantastic.
You've got a beautiful family. I can say that because they're right behind you,
Yes.
literally and figuratively, I'm sure, behind you. Four children,
5 children.
five children. You had
Yes.
mentioned that before we started. Five children. Are they involved in the business at all yet? Will they be? What's the plan?
Yeah, so the boys definitely have a lot of interest in the business. The girls are sort of on the fence. They have other things they're interested in, but
Yeah.
the kids have a lot of interest in the business. We'd love to have something that we can give to them, but we don't want to force them into it either. So it'll have to be their choice. Our oldest is 13, so
Mm.
we've got a little bit of time. But they do participate. They don't go out and clean that much. But they'll help around the office. They'll do tasks, put together boxes for our employees or little things, shred paper.
Hmm.
They're helpful.
And Dad, that is a great thing to do. My children are now 21 and 23, respectively, boy and a girl. And I would bring them to the office whenever I could. They saw what I did. They did things that they could do. I used to bring them to meetings as well, just to give them that type of education that you don't get in school, to understand small business and entrepreneurship. So then it gives them choices when they grow up, and they're like, I don't want to do what Dad did. No way. Or, oh
Right.
my gosh, I'd love to do what Dad did. So I think it's great you're doing that. Some people don't bring their kids to work. I think that if you own a company, there's no excuse not to expose them.
One of the best parts about owning a company, one of the hardest parts is we're living work, so
Hmm.
it's not like a 9 to 5 where I go home and work's done. The phone might ring. There's things that come up. And so we're living work. They're going to overhear and they're going to be part of the business, whether they like it or not. But I think it's one of those things that instills a work ethic in the kids that's really special. I grew up working in my grandparents' business, and no, I learned a lot from them.
Yeah, no, I think that's important. Thank you, my friend. I really appreciate you joining me today here on the SEAL podcast. Very educational. It's great to get to know you better, to learn more about what you do and how everything you do, from the coaching you get to how the SEAL helps bolster your business. You're doing a lot of the things that home service companies should do, and many don't. So you will stand apart.
Jim, it's been a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.